afternoon. We would like to get started. If everyone would take a seat, please. Thank you all. Good afternoon. My name is Diane Wheeler. On behalf of Project Guild, we would like to welcome you to our annual Grand Marshal's Luncheon. It is our 50th, and the theme this year is 50 Years of Greatness. Now, first of all, when we say 50 years, as you all know, we have all been through a pandemic, and we cannot thank this community enough for their support as we decided that it was in the best interest and the safety of our community to cancel last year. And let me tell you, that went with a lot of heartbreak for our members. If you've ever heard, one of our members said, it's just a number. I mean, it's 50 years, it's just a number. Well, as we've heard before, age is just a number. And who else better to exemplify age is just a number than Howard Griffin, 94 years old, and I got his permission to tell you all how old he is and what an amazing life he has led. And you will hear more about that in our program. But at this time, we're going to ask Jean Crady to come forward and give us the invocation for lunch.
Thank you. Let's pray. Dear Lord, we come today to offer our praise to you for the many men and women that have protected our country. We especially want to thank you for men like Master Sergeant Howard Griffin, who is honored here today. Lord, we ask you to watch over all the troops dispersed throughout the world. Guide us in everything we do and say, that it may be pleasing to you. We thank you for the food before us, the friends beside us, the love between us, and your presence among us. Amen.
We're going to go ahead and please continue to enjoy your lunch as we continue honoring our Grand Marshal. But before we step to our Grand Marshal, there's another person that we would like to recognize today. As I told you at the outset, it's been an unusual year for us with the pandemic, like most of you in this room. And because Oldham County Day was canceled, all of our officers were willing to stay and serve 2 years. So at this time, I would like to recognize Kenda Pruitt, if she would please stand. She has been our president for the last 2 years and led us through this pandemic, and we thank you for your service. At this time, we would like to honor our Grand Marshal, Howard Griffin. The way that we found out about Mr. Griffin and all of his accomplishments is we open for nominations each year for our Grand Marshal. This year, the American Legion Post 39 recommended and nominated Mr. Griffin, and I don't think I could say it any better than Joe Hamilton said it in his letter. He said, Master Sergeant Griffin is a veteran of 3 wars, World War II, Korea, and Vietnam. He's among a very rare and elite group of service members who has 3 Combat Infantry Badge Awards. This service alone would make him an excellent honoree as a Grand Marshal, but in addition, he also received a Purple Heart for combat wounds in all 3 of these conflicts. There are many distinguished veterans living in Oldham County, and we are proud of each and every one of them. But there is not one, to my knowledge, of any other person that so unambiguously deserves the moniker of being a hero. If you could ignore Master Sergeant Griffin's heroic actions that occurred so long ago, you cannot overlook his devotion to Oldham County. At the age of 94, he remains a servant for the people. He unassumingly works around Oldham County with youth and adults to ensure younger veterans are not forgotten. Master Sergeant Griffin has personally donated many thousands of dollars to Oldham County charities. He's always ready to offer an encouraging word and an inspiration to all who know him. We at Post 39 feel confident, and so does Project Guild, that he is an excellent choice to honor as our Grand Marshal today. At this time, I have 3 other individuals that would like to say a few words about him. First of all, Jan Jasper will be speaking, followed by Jean Crady, and then Joe Hamilton.
Hello. Howard is humble. When he was told he was chosen to be the Grand Marshal, he's responded, "That's a great honor. I don't deserve it." That's the way he is. Born 94 years ago in Vernon, Alabama, he spent his springs and summers of his youth plowing with a mule, pulling one plow. He'd work all day and get 50 cents. But that's the way it was at that time. At 16 years old, Pearl Harbor was bombed. Patriotism drove him to join the service. He was too young, 16, but he had his way and he got into the service. His mom and dad worked in the war effort, as did many U.S. families, and Howard said they were just as important as the soldiers. After World War II, Howard met his wife of over 66 years, Lillian Buckerud. They had 3 children. He opened a body shop, and his little heartthrob is Model A's. So he started collecting them, sending them down to his kin's big barn to save up. They called him into Korea. So he had to sell everything, and after that, he was jolted into the thoughts that I won't go to business again as long as I'm active in the military. So he finished out his military, and during that time, he went to Vietnam as well. After 25 years, he retired. He went to work for Brandt Money Counting Equipment. He worked there for 20 years. Howard worked 2 to 3 jobs to support his wife, Lillian, and put his kids through school, medical school, law school, and business school. And since his retirement from Brandt, he spends a lot of time in organizations that he's been part of for over 50 years. The American Legion, the Masons, Crestwood Baptist Church, and the Shriners. Remember the Shriners float that's a fez and it's got all the little lights on it and everything? Howard drilled the holes and put the lights in that. And anyway, he fries the fish at Crestwood Baptist Church's Young at Heart fish fry for up to 60 people. On Memorial Day, getting ready for that, he helps the American Legion put out over 600 flags on the graves at the Valley of Rest. And he helps put up the flags along Main Street, each flag representing an Oldham Countian who was killed in service. Howard enjoyed some rare privileges the last couple of years. He was part of a 2-day, 3 bus tours to Washington, D.C. to see the war memorials. And last summer, he rode in a 1944 B-23 bomber. This spring, he was right behind the pilot in a 1944 Navy Avenger torpedo bomber. He was thrilled, and it was a great, great opportunity. For the past 7 years, I've had the privilege of being escorted around by this wonderful gentleman and to many of his military events, and he is a member of the greatest generation. A man of truth, integrity, the perfect gentleman, honest and true. His passion is that we never forget, and never let our children forget, that freedom is not free, and being able to speak English in our land is only because so many went to war and so many died in that war that we might be free. Howard Griffin, I thank you for your service.
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. What an honor it is to be here. My name is Gene Crady. I'm current chaplain for the American Legion Post 39, located in Crestwood. I'm here to offer a little insight into the life of Master Sergeant Howard Griffin, known to many as Sarge. I may touch on a very minute part of Howard's military life, but it's hard to talk about Howard and not mention his military background. Howard was born January 13th, 1927, in Vernon, Alabama, which is West Alabama, about 10 miles from the Mississippi line. His dad was a school teacher with a 9th grade education. During the Depression, his mom and dad left Vernon, Alabama, and traveled to Detroit, looking for a better job. Heard that Henry Ford was hiring at his automobile assembly plant. Once they arrived there, they found people sleeping on the ground at the front gate. His dad ended up renting a one-room flat and stayed till the money ran out. He did not get a job there and returned to Vernon, Alabama, with 16 cents in his pocket. He later found a teaching job with only a 9th grade education himself. 1943, Howard volunteered for military service at the tender age of 16. His dad had signed for him. They would not accept him because they wanted 17, 18-year-olds. Somehow, we don't know how, but his papers got forged. His reason for joining was because of Pearl Harbor. Howard was first placed in the Coast Guard, then later transferred to the Army. He was in the military service for about 3 years. Sent back to the United States, Howard arrived in San Francisco. From there, he went to New York, where he met the girl he would later marry in 1946. The day after he met her, he had to return to Europe for some unfinished business. He was discharged 3 or 4 weeks after his return to the United States. He'd been in the Army about 3 years, making him at the tender age of 19 years old. Just imagine 19 years old and he'd fought numerous battles, including the Battle of the Bulge. He came back to Alabama, but not to farm life. He did some training and started his own business, a body shop, rebuilding wrecked cars. It was his own business. He took a lot of pride in it. He was doing so well. He had married Lillian in 1948. Actually, they were married 9/11/1948. He was called back to the Army for the Korean War, 1950, 2 years after they were married. This meant he would lose his business, and it really hurt because he was doing so well. 1966, he was sent to Germany, taking his wife with him. After being stationed there a year, he was called to Vietnam. He brought his family home to Valley Station. Howard retired in 1970 as Master Sergeant, 25 years, and started to work for Brant Money County Company Equipment. He worked for nearly every bank in southern Kentucky, Corbin, Prestonsburg, Hazard, and even traveling all the way up to Cincinnati. He worked in every bank in Louisville except for one. Howard has belonged to the Masonic fraternity for 65 years. Belonging to Camp Knox, number 919. He belongs to Pee Wee Valley, number 829 in Crestwood. Howard is a 32nd degree Mason, having gone through the degrees of Scottish Rite in Paris, France. Upon his return to Fort Knox, he became a Shriner with the Louisville Cosaire Shrine. Now has 50-plus years with the Shrine, and he's also an honorary member with the Oldham County Shrine Club. Sarge is a very active member of the American Legion Post in Crestwood. He makes sure that 43 flags are in good order to be placed up and down Main Street. If they've got a loose thread or snag or whatever, he won't allow them to go. He also helps with the 675 flags at the Veterans' Grave at the Valley of Rest each year prior to Memorial Day. Howard spends a lot of his spare time in his garden, tending to tomatoes, vegetables, which he enjoys sharing with everyone. He's even been known to raise a few peanuts and cotton. He also spends time with his 1934, which he drives in parades and other events. He has restored antique carriages for the Oldham County History Center. Sadly, Howard's wife Lillian passed away a few years ago. Together they raised 3 children, 2 boys and a girl. One son lives in Eugene, Oregon. His daughter's a pediatrician that works at the Crow Indian Reservation in Hardin, Montana. The oldest son recently moved to Gulf Shores, Alabama. I am honored that you have chosen Howard E. Griffin to be the Grand Marshal of the Oldham County Day Parade. Howard is my Masonic brother and also my dear friend, and just an all-around wonderful guy. Thank you.
Good afternoon, everyone.
Good afternoon.
There may be some repeats in what I have to say to y'all today, but you know what? It's Sarge, and it's okay. Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen, distinguished guests, and Sarge. I want to thank the Project Guild for selecting Mr. Griffin to be the Grand Marshal of the Oldham County Day Parade. What a great honor for an outstanding person that is so deserving of this recognition. I met Sarge, Master Sergeant Howard Griffin, several years ago at the first Christmas dinner that I ever went to that the American Legion had put on. He was fairly quiet at the time, not as outspoken as he is now. And to tell you the truth, I like him even better the way he is now. I know that I can go to him with any question, and he will give me an honest answer. Sarge tells it like it is. That is the way that generation operates, straight and to the point. I really appreciate that because I do not want it sugar-coated or exaggerated. At that Christmas dinner, he talked of going for carriage rides at his place, that he would harness up one of his horses and hook it to one of his carriages that he had restored and rode through his subdivision. How neat was that? Carriage rides from a World War II hero. I made the comment that he had restored the carriage, or one of several that he has restored. Not only did he, or has he restored horse and buggy carriages, he also restored a 1918 World War I tank that was in the front lobby of the museum, Pat Museum, for years. And that picture of that tank comes up on the screen every once in a while. At the time, the 2-star commanding general of Fort Knox saw the old tank, or what was left of it, in the motor pool. He had heard about Sarge and his skills and asked for him to report to his office. The 2-star told Sarge that he wanted to drive that piece of a tank in the parade next year. There it is. Sarge said, well, and the general interrupted him and said, make it happen. So Sarge, being the good NCO that he was, said, yes, sir. And over the course of the next 11 months or so, he made it happen. So if you need anything done, something restored, or painted, or welded, just call Sarge, and he will get her done for you. That is the absolute truth, as I personally witnessed his expertise. About 5 or 6 years ago, I was talking about a little trailer that I need to paint, and he said to bring it up and he would paint it for me. So I did, and he painted it for me. It looked like a new dollar. He even took off the wheels and painted the hubs and everything. He is over and above type of guy. Sarge is very modest, and he will not brag or say anything about himself. That is okay. I will. He enlisted in the military and spent his first 2 Christmases in World War II freezing his keister off, and he was not even 18. Sarge first enlisted in the U.S. Coast Guard, but after survival training, it was determined that he was colorblind. So he was transferred to the Army. The Army needed a crack shot for certain details, and as a young boy, Sarge could shoot the eye out of a squirrel. So Sarge was a sniper during World War II and continued on in that position during his service in the next two wars, Korea and Vietnam. He began his Army career in North Africa, Oran, and Algiers, where he was assigned to General Patton's 3rd Armored Division for 3 months. Some of the other campaigns included France, Italy, Germany, Luxembourg, the Battle of the Bulge, Japan, and the Philippines. He received a Purple Heart in World War II, one of 3 that he would receive during his career. He was in Germany when the war ended there, and then went on to Japan. And he was there when the war ended there. So you see, it seems like wherever Sarge went, the war ended soon after. I truly understand that about him. He was also an advisor to Greece, Turkey, Japan, and the Iranian army. One quick war story, one of the battles he was in. This story may not be for the faint of heart. You're forewarned. His platoon was taking heavy fire, and the tank went down. So he was out there shooting the enemy and protecting his troops when he felt a small blow to his head. He kept on shooting and taking care of business, doing what he's supposed to do. He finally took care of the last of the enemy and reached up to feel his head, and he felt something mushy. After one of his men came up to check him out, the mushy that he was feeling was his brain. Part of his skull was taken off with the round that hit his helmet. That is how tough he is. Something like that, and he continued to give it back to the enemy until he had won the battle. Never give up. You know, a minute is not very long. And if you try to tell something about every year of your life in 1 minute for each year, that would be over an hour and a half for Sarge to tell it. And believe me, it would be very interesting. Hour and a half talking about Sarge. But I'm not going to do that. Even though he is 94 years young, he has not lost his touch or his aim. He will tell you that he just cannot see anymore. But there are a number of animals that if they were around today, they would tell you a completely different story. Sarge has amassed more medals than I can count and has a CIB with 2 stars on it, which is up here. A CIB stands for Combat Infantry Badge. There are very few people that have that distinctive badge on their uniform. In fact, there are only about 5 or 6 people with that badge. Sarge has the principles that this country was founded on. You work hard and you look out for your fellow man. And that is exactly what he has done and still does. Sarge has worked hard his whole life, and he has done very well for himself and his family. His children are all professional people. Lori, a doctor, Gary is a lawyer, and Wayne is a businessman. Sarge has a passion for Corvettes. He had a 2014 Corvette, and a couple years ago when I stopped by his house to visit, I noticed there was a bright yellow Corvette in his garage. I walked down this building and I asked him, I said, "Sarge, did you get your car painted?" He said, "No." He said, "That thing got over 50,000 miles on it, so I got a new one." Sarge does not let any grass grow under his feet. So that was a 2019. And now he's traded that one in on a brand new 2021 mid-engine red Corvette that's sitting out front. If you saw that, it's Sarge. I want to be like Sarge when I grow up. Whenever I call Sarge or stop by his house and ask him how he's doing, he always says, "I'm doing great." What an awesome attitude he has. He thanks God for his health, and he looks forward to getting up every morning and working in his big garden, and it's bigger than this room. His biggest wish is that no one forgets that freedom is not free. It has taken many lives to pay for the freedom that we enjoy. Never, ever forget that. Ladies and gentlemen, it is my honor and privilege to call Sarge my best friend.
Sarge, would you come join me, please? So as you heard from our last speakers, why we have selected Sarge here to be our Grand Marshal for this year, I get the distinct honor of presenting to him this platter commemorating his job as Grand Marshal. I hear too many war stories, and I get to General, the Grand Marshal for Oldham County Day. Thank you so much.
I will say something. All this, I don't know how I pay these guys, you know, they're pretty expensive. But Joe said something I'm really firm on. Don't let our younger generation forget what veterans have gone through, that we have the freedom, luxury, opportunities that we have today. I thank you very much. Thank all of you so much.
I don't know about you all, but that's a hard act to follow. You think you might have accomplished something in your lifetime until you hear that. You truly are a hero, and we are very, very proud to have you as our Grand Marshal. I do want to thank a few people and make a few announcements before we leave. We hope you all will come out Saturday and watch the Sarge in the parade. It starts at 10 a.m., and we still have spots. If you want to be in the parade, you're more than welcome to. And the Grange Rotary will have their annual pancake breakfast, and it starts at 7, and it's at the Grange Community Center. And Denise is here somewhere with tickets. There she is. If you'd like tickets, they're $5 today and $6 at the door, correct? So see Denise at the end for tickets. We do have some sponsors, just not for the luncheon itself, but as well as Oldham County Day. Baptist Health of LaGrange, Stockyards Bank, who I believe has a table here today. We thank you all. Champion Chevrolet, and I think I saw Fred somewhere. Thank you very much for what you do and the cars that you provide us. And also special thanks to Citizens Bank, Classic Cuisine by Liska, Goodwin Greenhouse for our lovely flowers here, Hometown Pizza, LaGrange Rotary for always sponsoring us, Oldham County Chamber of Commerce, Oldham County Fiscal Court, and Sawyer Drive-In. Just a couple of more announcements I want to make real quick. I know you all need to get out of here, is that not only with the pandemic did we have to make some changes and with the train going through town, but also, as most of you have heard, our courthouse is in the process of a complete remodel. And we thought we wouldn't be able to utilize the lawn at all, but we are going to be able to use it on a limited basis. So the parade route will change, so when you're sitting up your chairs, make sure you know that it is going to stay the same going down 146. On 53, it's going to make a right, and it will go across the railroad tracks and end on Washington Street near City Place, which we are going to have a lot of fun entertainment outdoors and booths inside City Place this year. So please make sure you get around to that area. And then if motorized vehicles will go on down to Southeast Christian, and Southeast Christian Church has been so nice that they will run a shuttle back and forth to get people back and forth. And also, as I indicated, come to City Place. There's going to be a lot of cool things there. And so we hope to see you all Saturday. And thank you all so much for joining us today. Thank you.